Varginha File. In January of 1996, a small Brazilian city became the center of one of the most persistent modern UFO legends on Earth. Not because of photographs, not because of wreckage, not because of laboratory samples, but because of people. This is the Varginha case, often called Brazil's Roswell, a story that exists in two parallel realities. One, written in official military archives. The other, preserved in eyewitness testimony, documentaries, and unanswered questions. Tonight, as I go through this, I'm going to do my best to examine both. Not to decide what you should believe, but to understand what actually exists and what does not. The Brazilian army opened a formal military police inquiry known as an IPM in 1997. Its purpose was simple: to investigate rumors that military personnel and vehicles had been involved in capturing a strange creature and transporting it through the city of Varginha. The inquiry produced 2 volumes, hundreds of pages, witness interviews, vehicle movement reviews. The official conclusion was clear. The investigation found no evidence of extraterrestrial activity, no crash retrieval, no biological specimens, no extraordinary transport operations. Military personnel named in books and media denied involvement. Vehicle movements were described as routine logistics. And the central creature sighting was attributed to a misidentification under stressful conditions. This is the version of events preserved in Brazil's military archives. It's not sensational. It's not cinematic. But it is documented. Let's talk about the creature. On January 20th, 1996, 3 young women reported seeing a strange creature being crouched near a wall. They described dark skin, oily-like, large eyes, a crouched posture, a strong odor. There were 3 bumps on his head, and its eyes were red. Their shock was genuine, their fear was real. These statements became the emotional core of the case. But from an investigative standpoint, this is where the case begins to divide. Eyewitness testimony is powerful. They use it in the courts all the time to convict people of crimes. But in this case, and like most UFO cases and alien witness cases, it is also vulnerable to stress distortion, memory reconstruction, and environmental misinterpretation. The official inquiry concluded the sighting likely involved a local man known in the area, misidentified under poor visibility and emotional stress. Now, there's a homeless man. He's still alive today, and I'm going to do some more research on him. The witnesses maintain what they saw was not human. 2 realities now exist. One recorded, one remembered. Okay. So after the creature story spread, residents reported seeing military trucks moving through the city. In documentaries and books, this becomes a retrieval operation, a coordinated capture, a secret transport. In official records, it becomes something else. Routine vehicle movements, maintenance operations, normal military logistics misinterpreted through rumor escalation. Now, this gap between perception and documentation becomes the heart of the mystery. Because movement alone is not evidence, intent is what matters, and intent requires records, which never surfaced publicly. There's plenty of lawsuits out there trying to get all of the records right now in Brazil. As we speak, in 2026, there are still FOIA requests for the documents regarding this incident. There's also a hospital narrative. Decades later, a new layer emerges. A neurosurgeon, Dr. Italo Venturelli, publicly stated he was asked to examine a strange being at a hospital. He claimed it was alive, non-human, unlike anything he had seen. The testimony reignited global interest. But medicine leaves paperwork. Admissions, imaging, lab results, staff logs, charts. None of these have been produced publicly. What remains as testimony. To this day, that doctor will tell you that this creature was in this specific bed that is still in the hospital. There's also another clinic where this creature was taken prior to the hospital. And apparently the nurses freaked out and wanted nothing to do with it. And that's why he wound up where the creature, whatever it was taken to this hospital and examined by Dr. Italo Venturelli. There are other people still in this hospital that work to this day that will tell you they saw it or they heard about it when they were there that day. So, since we have testimony, it's important, it's compelling, but it's unverified because there's no paperwork. Maybe the paperwork was confiscated, I don't know. In 2022, the documentary Moment of Contact presented Varginha as a confirmed non-human encounter. The film asserts that a craft malfunctioned. Creatures were captured. The Brazilian military conducted retrieval. A U.S. aircraft transported biological material. A soldier became ill after exposure. These claims are powerful. Now, there are witnesses in the film that discuss seeing a bright red craft in the sky. They didn't want to be identified. There are other people that talk about seeing this creature or seeing these girls that witnessed the creature freaking out, running down the street. One of the mothers was running down the street to help her daughter. She saw her daughter pretty much carrying her friend to get away from there. There's a lot of stuff in that documentary. I recommend watching Moment of Contact if this story interests you. The thing about the film, though, is it does not present authenticated debris. There's no chain of custody biological samples. There's no hospital documentation. There are no flight manifests. There's no radar logs. It's built on interviews and inference. That doesn't mean it's false. It just means it's not verified. Now, if I recall correctly, this whole thing started, I believe, because NORAD was catching unidentified objects flying in Brazil's airspace and told the Brazilian Air Force, there's something coming. And there are witnesses that saw things flying in the air and thought they saw something crash, and there's people that saw creatures. Now, there's also word of a second creature. There may be more living in the woods to this day. Or Maybe he was brown and oily because he just couldn't survive in our atmosphere, and that's how he looks when he dies. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about some U.S. government connections, okay? There are no U.S. government documents confirming involvement in the Varginha case. Now, there have been congressional UAP hearings, and they acknowledge UFOs, or as they call it now, UAP, the unidentified aerial phenomenon. They keep changing the letters and the names, so we'll be thrown off. I believe now they just call them drones. But anyway, at these hearings, they discuss whistleblower claims of recovered materials. But Varginha is never named. No linkage is established. If U.S. involvement occurred, it has not been demonstrated through publicly available records. But the guys that are at these UAP hearings have never been to Brazil, at least at that time, to go research this. They weren't there at the time, so there'd be no reason for a whistleblower to come in and talk about recovered materials from Varginha. And if we do have recovered materials, who's to say it would be put away in a warehouse or a file somewhere and it says from Varginha? I'm sure all UFOs are kept together somewhere. You know, some companies have it. I mean, if the government had it, I mean, there would probably be some kind of documentation out there, but if a private company has it, like Boeing or Lockheed Martin, they don't have to report any FOIA requests. That stuff will be a company secret, and they don't have to tell us anything. They don't have to answer our questions. So if they're out there, if there's UFOs or there's crash debris, I'm sure it's with one of those companies. Skunk Works, maybe. But let's do an evidence audit anyway. Okay? So if Varginha involved a real extraterrestrial encounter, we would expect physical wreckage, hopefully some biological samples, considering the doctor saw this creature, the hospital documentation, some lab analysis, transport records, chain of custody logs, but none exist publicly. And there may have been labs done. There may have been samples taken. I'm not too sure, but I do know that this creature was put in like a steel box, like a stainless steel box. And I believe the military went in there at the hospital after the doctor saw it and examined it and took it away. Just rushed in there, grabbed it, and took it away. And it's rumored that it was taken to a military base in Brazil, an Air Force base, and that the United States somehow took it. I guess they gave it over to the military here in the U.S. But even that, with an evidence audit that shows nothing publicly, it doesn't disprove the event, but it does define the status as unverified because you have witnesses. But nobody ever wants to tell us anything about this stuff, you know, so I gotta lean with the witnesses. I know we got these UFO, UAP hearings. The government's acknowledging UFOs exist, or UAPs. I'm going to have to say this happened, but that's just my opinion. Now, there are similar cases. The first video I put on my channel, in Socorro, New Mexico, where the police officer reported the landed craft and figures. Project Blue Book listed as unknown. Okay? That was Mr. Zamora who did the report. Now, there's other unclassified documents that were released. You got to do a little digging in the Black Vault. I do have some on my Reddit that were sent to me. I talk about another cop, and additional witnesses to the Socorro, New Mexico incident. And I might want to revisit that one and present some more evidence. Another case, Westall, Australia, 1966. Students and teachers report a hovering object, and after they report it, it seems like, I don't want to say Men in Black, but it sure seems like some government officials went and pressured them not to talk about this publicly anymore. An interesting case that involves aliens is the Kelly Hopkinsville, Kentucky alien. Now that's a very crazy case. I have to do a story on that. That was in 1955. The residents reported strange beings outside their house that almost looked like goblins. They call it like the Hopkinsville Goblin. They were short, they had like big ears, and they were pretty much just flying from the ground to the roof. And they were shooting at these things, and they're saying that their bullets were doing nothing. It was almost like they're bouncing off of them or not even touching them. And that was explained at the police station. The whole house was a wreck. But later explanations that were given to us as the public include owls and panic misinterpretation. These guys lived in the country. I'm sure they know what an owl looks like. And I've seen big owls, you know. I go to the zoo. I've seen these things, but there's no way. Hopkinsville, I'm going to have to do that story. I'm going to have to do a report on that. So anyway, across decades and continents, patterns repeat. There's strange sightings, and there's human fear. And of course, there's government denial, institutional denial, everything. And no preserved physical proof. Now, I don't know if y'all remember Art Bell, but he used to have a radio show before he passed away. Gosh, I can't recall the name of it now, but he had a collection of parts that came off of UFOs. He used to call it Art's Parts. And apparently he gave them to somebody, but we got to look into that too. So let's talk about why this story endures, okay? It survives because it exists in emotional memory and cultural identity. People in Brazil believe what these girls said, you know. There's been sightings of other creatures out there, and nobody believes that they saw this, mistook a homeless man for an alien. There's no way. I mean, they saw it in broad daylight. They were about 8 feet from the thing, you know. So the city of Varginha has embraced the story. There are memorials out there. There's plenty of tourism to go look at the area. You know, it's behind a wall. It's like a brown or a beige, just brick wall out there. And the area is kind of locked off, but you can get in there. And so the mystery of this UFO alien case became part of the place. Not because it's solved, but because it's not solved. It's still out there. It's unsolved. There's plenty of people saying it happened. There's plenty of witnesses. You got doctors. There are military personnel and police in the video that will testify that, yeah, they saw it. They were there. They knew it was in a truck. They took it to a base. They didn't know why they were out in the woods. They didn't know what they were doing out there, but they eventually found out what was happening when some of them got to the hospital. So the problem with this, you know, is that time is an enemy of any evidence. It's kind of like the, some other case I just did. You know, once evidence sits around for so long, it gets old. You know, paper fades, witnesses age, memories shift, you know. So sometimes you may remember something, it's not exactly how it happened, you know. Your memory kind of fades. So what remains is the story, though. And there was a lot of people that were documenting their experiences at the time. A lot of people drew pictures that looked similar to each other. The little girls that they pulled separately and said, draw what you saw, and everybody was drawing these big heads, some little bumps, and bright red eyes. Some people were describing the feet Looked almost like, Spock when he does his fingers like a V and a thumb sticking out. It was like this thing had 3 toes, and there was plenty of people that didn't know each other that described the feet the same. Like its middle toe was a little bit longer than everything else. So, with that, what remains is the story. Yes, there's not truth, but there's no falsehood. It's just a story right now. So, Varginha now lives between documentation, and I don't want to say imagination, but through witness testimony, through undocumented stories. It's between official denial and personal conviction. And until the physical evidence emerges, that's where it's going to stay. But unfortunately, with UFOs and aliens, everybody wants the physical evidence, and that's something that it seems that the government's never willing to give us. They grab it, or reverse engineer it, or turn it into weapons, or do whatever it is they do with these things. We never get to see it. The only people that get to see it are the original eyewitnesses, and a lot of times these eyewitnesses, they're afraid to come forward because they're afraid to sound crazy. A lot of witnesses that I did see their testimony wanted their faces blocked. And they were regular people, some of these people weren't government employees or anything. They were just regular residents out there. Some of the military personnel that were there at the time, in their interviews, they wouldn't face the camera. They would have their voices altered. So there's still a lot of problems with getting eyewitness testimony when it comes to these cases. A lot of people don't want to believe it. But when you go to court, eyewitness testimony is one of the biggest deciding factors in any case. And in this case, we have plenty of witnesses that have drawn the same pictures, plenty of witnesses that have never met and described the same physical attributes, the same color, the same oily, silicone, brown-looking skin. It's too much to me. So to me, I believe this must have happened. I'm going to go with yes. It's a yes that this happened. Now, unfortunately, there's no photographic evidence. There's no physical evidence. But from going off what these witnesses say, none of them met. None of them knew each other. Different walks of life. Doctors, citizens, military, police. There's too many people saying the same things, drawing the same pictures. And I'm going to come to the same conclusion that this happened. That's just me. I don't want to tell you what to believe, but I'm telling you what I believe. So anyway, guys, this has been another Quiet Mystery on Quiet Mysteries. I thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe, guys. I appreciate your time. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thank you.